What's going on, everybody? Robert back again with another video for you guys, and in today's video we're going to be talking about how to become an owner-operator in the oil field and really what's expected of owner-operators in the oil field. So this is one that you're not going to want to miss. Stay tuned. Guys, we all have an idea of what being an owner-operator is like over the road. We know that when the market is doing really well, we make a lot of money, and when the market's doing badly or poorly, we don't make so much money. Well, being an owner-operator in the oil field is kind of like that, except you may be exposed more to more drastic market changes as they occur over the year. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, the oil field takes drastic turns depending on the market, who's in charge in the White House, policy, the demand for oil, and also the price per barrel at the time. Now, this all affects market conditions in the oil field. Let me read you guys an article from The Guardian, which was published last year in July, and it talks about why the oil field is so volatile. And here's what the article says. One reason why oil and gas prices are so volatile is that short-term demand for energy responds much faster to changes in growth than to price changes. So, when there is an energy shock, it can take a huge price change to clear the market. Now, guys, we saw an example of this just recently when the pandemic happened in 2020. We went from producing 100 million barrels of oil per day down to 75 million barrels per day, a difference of 25 million. Now, that is a huge drop in demand, very big. Now, we saw refineries shut down and oil and gas workers laid off just like that. In other terms, got bad pretty quickly. So if you're an owner-operator that is thinking about bringing their truck into the oil field, remember there are things in the market that you're going to have to contend with. And just be financially prepared for another downturn. Remember, it's not if it's going to happen again, it's when it's going to happen again. Now, I tell you this as an owner-operator because essentially you guys are business owners, whether or not you have your own authority or whether you're leased onto somebody, you guys are business owners, you guys are running your own business. So it's important for you guys to know what the market conditions are doing, what the tall tale signs are for a market downturn, and make sure that you are preparing yourselves for when that occurs. So now that we got all that out the way, you guys know that the oil field is just like anywhere else. We do have downturns, and most of our downturns are pretty significant, and they do happen very quickly. Not really a gradual downturn like the rest of the market. First thing that you need to know as an owner-operator in the oil field is that you guys will most likely be leased onto a larger company. Now, the reason for this is because it's extremely hard, that's what she said, to get an oil field contract with an oil producer. It really comes back to the good old boy system out here in the oil field, and it basically says this: it's not about what you know, it's about who you know. Now, besides just having a good friendship with a company man, you're also going to need to have a good relationship with other company men in that oil company. You're going to need a good proven track record that you know what you're doing, competitive pricing, and you're going to need a master service agreement approved by the oil company. And those are not easy to get. Last but not least, the most important thing that you're going to need is the volume of equipment. How many trucks do you have? How many trailers do you have? How many drivers do you have? When an oil field company calls, are you able to respond with the exact equipment that they need? So it's safe to say that just with 1 or 2 units that you're not going to go get your own contracts with an oil company. And plus, the insurance that you're going to need to carry if you even work for that oil company is probably going to be too expensive if you just got 1 or 2 units. So guys, it's really unrealistic to think that you're going to go get an oil contract by just coming out here and start working. You need to have the truck, you need to have the relationship with the company men, you need to have the proven track record that you know what you're doing, and plus the big thing is you're going to need a lot of money. And that's just not realistic. And now that brings us to where most of you guys watching this video are going to have to do if you're going to be bringing your trucks out to the oil field, and that is leasing onto another company who is already established with contracts and already has that good relationship with the oil companies. Now, these companies will lease owner-operators onto their company for just one reason and one reason only, and that's to fill the demand for equipment. Now, instead of that company going out and buying new trucks, hiring more drivers, housing those drivers, and paying taxes on those drivers that they hire, they bring you guys in, owner-operators, to fill that demand that they need at the time. Remember, guys, the oil field is very volatile, and buying trucks and hiring hiring drivers, that's a massive investment for a company. So if the oil field was to take a massive hit, work was to slow down, now they have all these trucks that they just bought and they have all these new drivers that they just hired. Now they're stuck with unused equipment and now they have to lay off drivers. So these companies will bring in owner-operators to pretty much fill the demand of the oil company without having to make a huge investment up front. Now, as an owner-operator, you can do lots of things with your own truck. And these are just some of the jobs that you guys can actually do out in the oil field. And that is haul water as a vacuum truck driver, a sand hauler, flatbed. You can also include hot shot in this, be a belly dump driver. That's pretty simple and easy to get into. Crude oil haulers, you're gonna need a hazmat for that. Dump trucks, and sometimes winch truck if you have it. Now, the most in-demand jobs that are pretty much always in demand are going to be vacuum truck drivers, oil haulers, and sand haulers. Those are going to be like your main three that is really easy to get into. And there are tons of companies that are hiring owner operators for those positions. Now, I like to call these the core three jobs that are always going to be in demand for owner operators. For these jobs, you're going to need to supply your own trailers, pumps, blowers, tank trailers, everything on your own. Now, the only exception to this is for some sand hauling companies, they will lease you the trailer or they will give you a chassis or whatever it may be. They usually give those to you guys. Now remember, those pumps and those trailers get very, very expensive, so it's best to make sure that you're willing to make that initial investment because those things do get very expensive. All right guys, now let's talk about how you can find these companies that are willing to lease owner operators on. Realistically, the best way to find a company that is best suited for owner operators is just by word of mouth. Literally word of mouth. Working in the oil field, you're going to find tons of companies out there, hundreds of companies, and sometimes it's hard to narrow it down for what company is the best for owner operators. And that's why you got to get out there, work in the oil field, talk to other owner operators, see what company's good, see what they're getting paid, and really what the conditions are like for owner operators working at that company. And really guys, just working out here in the oil field, you're definitely going to see companies that you really have never heard of before, and you get to see how they work, how they treat their drivers just by being around it. But what if you're just trying to get started out here in the oil field? I'd say the best thing to find like oil field jobs is literally Craigslist and Indeed. I have had friends find great oil field companies to lease onto just by going onto Craigslist. And he still works there up to this day. Or you can just go on Indeed. Most of you guys know what Indeed is. And look for oil companies that are hiring. You can look them up as far as like frac companies, service companies, water hauling companies, sand hauling companies. There are just tons of them there on Indeed that you can look up and then apply through that website. Or you could just come out to Midland and Odessa, travel down here, and I promise you that you will find a job doing something. Now remember, using those websites, maybe you find a company off those websites, just look at it as getting a foothold in the oil field. Just get out here and start working. I promise you, you're gonna find companies, good companies, bad companies, and really that's the only way to get out here is just get out here, start working, create a foothold in the oil field, and just live the life. And then you will find a great company eventually. Basically, just remember guys, get out here, start working, ask questions of other drivers, and you're gonna find that there's hundreds of companies that may not advertise that they're hiring that could potentially end up becoming a good opportunity for you guys to put your truck with. But anyway guys, that is a quick rundown of the oil field topic of owner operator and how to get your truck out here in the oil field. Well, if you guys have any other questions about being an owner operator in the oil field or what's expected of you as an owner operator in the oil field, leave it down in the comment section. I'll do my best to try to answer those comments. Remember guys, I get a lot of comments a day, and if I miss your comment, I apologize well in advance. Just know I try to answer as many as I can. Remember, if you're new to the channel, go ahead and hit that subscribe button down at the bottom of your screens. Turn on those bell notifications so that you guys will get notified every single time that I put out content. And until next time, keep it between the ditches.